good? All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll call the Tippecanoe County Drainage Board meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of a couple sets of minutes.
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the meeting minutes from our October 7th regular meeting and also the Buck Logan obstruction hearing minutes for that same date as submitted.
I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Okay, we have some opening of bids.
First one looks like from Maxwell Farm Drainage. That's okay, I only got one left. Like that one has a total quote of $109,329. I think that's 109. There's a chance that the 9 could be a 4. So, no.
We'll just call it 104.
What?
We'll just call it 104.
I think it's 109. Jim can add them up. And then we've got one from B&D All Terrain.
This one was 109,329.
One from B&D All Terrain is $69,783.35. We have a third one from Tony Garrett. This one has a total quote of $84,652.96.
And those are that's it?
That's
okay.
it.
All right. Thank you to all who participated in the bidding process, and we will review those during the course of this meeting and hopefully award that bid at the end of this meeting. All right, we'll move on to our one project, Miller Commercial Site.
Good morning. Ooh.
Does everybody sound off? Is your sound off on your Surface Pro
Testing.
at the bottom?
I think so, but I don't know.
Right. It should be right.
Next out.
Just next to the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
next
there
to
it
the
is.
time.
It is.
Try again,
Good morning. Testing. Testing. Coming from that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'll have to go find it.
If you stand back from it, Justin,
Yeah,
will it still
maybe.
do it?
Yeah.
Hello? Testing. Is that better?
It is for feedback.
I think so.
Can you guys hear me at all?
I can. Yeah.
Can, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, morning. Justin Frazier with T-Bird Design Services. Here to present a project that we call the Miller Commercial Site. Brad and Brett Miller currently have title to several tracks just southwesterly of Buck Creek. It's at the intersection of State Road 25 and County Road 450 North. That's the site there. It's pulled up. The particular tract, they have tracks all around that intersection. The particular tract we're talking about is a pie-shaped tract at the northeasterly quadrant of that intersection. It's about 13 acres, and currently it's farm ground, drains northerly to the highway there. There's a big box culvert along the front, or along that highway frontage that takes the stormwater underneath the highway. I think it's a 4x10 culvert or something. It's pretty large. So, yeah. The property's currently zoned for general business. The Millers came to us. They wanted to make sure there's a viable stormwater plan to kind of help the marketability of the project or the property. So what we've done is while we don't have a proposed use yet, we don't have any buildings or parking lots or anything out here, what we've done is provided a design for detention at the northerly portion of the site, which you see on that exhibit there. There's a wet bottom detention pond designed, and that is designed so that in the future, the rest of the site can be fully developed based on a GB zone, and all the detention would be accommodated for in this detention pond here. So that's the intent. So in the future, as long as, whether it's one user that comes in there or multiple users, as long as they direct their runoff to this detention pond, it's going to be accommodated for.
So they could literally pave the entire remaining
Up to
acreage?
I think it's a 90% impervious
Okay.
per the zone, yeah. Water quality has also been designed in this pond in addition to, water quality in addition to the quantity has been designed. So. Details of the pond itself are pretty simple. It's about a 1 acre footprint on the normal pool. There's a berm along the westerly side of the pond. As far as the discharge, it's a small 12-inch pipe that discharges into the right-of-way. NDOT's reviewed the plan. They've approved it. Christopher Burke has reviewed it. They've provided a conditional approval in their memo. We have no objections to their conditions, and we're asking for your conditional approval today, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Zach?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Justin. As Justin stated, this is a fairly simple site for the most part. It's a hole in the ground, the detention basin, in preparation for future use. We did have some concerns as far as the placement of the detention basin in relationship to the Hoosier Heartland corridor for meeting the safety requirements in our ordinance. For the motoring public, we did speak with Justin about that. That has been corrected, and as of today, we are recommending construction approval of this project. Happy to answer any questions.
So was that due to the proximity to the highway?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, they needed additional distance, horizontal distance of separation between the pond and the Heartland corridor for the safety requirements in the ordinance. So,
Is a berm required between a highway and a?
I'll let Justin jump in, but if they don't meet the horizontal distance, then I think the ordinance does allow for the berm. But I think they went through that exercise. I'll let Justin provide more detail.
I think it's 50 feet separation either way.
Okay.
From either a 100-year elevation of the pond or if there's a berm, the berm. Whatever the more restrictive is. In this case, we had to have a berm just from a design standpoint.
Yeah.
And so the more restrictive is the berm had to be 50 feet from the right-of-way, which is, like Zach said, that what you see there is a 50-foot separation.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this? Questions from the board? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I would move that per the Burke memo dated November 2nd, we grant construction approval as outlined in the document for the Miller commercial site.
And I will second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That passes. Thank you. All right. Zach, we've got a couple items under other business.
Yeah, very well. I'll pull up a map. Hopefully, there we go. So this particular item I want to talk about, and we need to update our map, I see. But this particular item, I'm going to zoom in here. So before I do, let me begin by stating this. So in the Indiana Drainage Code, actually, I cited this, Indiana Code 36-9-27-20 talks about the partial relinquishment of county-regulated drains by the Drainage Board to a local municipality. In this particular case, it would be the city of West Lafayette. So with that being stated, one of the things that I want to bring before the board today for discussion and then further discussion as time goes on with other drains, but today I want to talk specifically about the Cuppy McClure. Generally speaking, as I stated, the drainage code allows for the drainage board to relinquish portions of county regulated drains to the local cities. And so in this particular case, we're talking about the Cuppy McClure. As you can see, the Cuppy McClure historically served the area of the celery bog. All those red lines that you see where the celery bog is located, those are no longer in useful condition. I think a lot of them are still there, but they've been vacated in place, and we need to actually update our map to show that that is the case. But the portion that I'm talking about today, I'm going to zoom in here. We're getting into the portion, we're talking roughly about 2,000 feet of this drain still going. So I'll kind of stop there because I think that way we can see the roads. So Sagamore Parkway runs along the east and then the north and curves and runs along the north heading out to the west. And I think most people know where Paramount Lakeshore property is located. Paramount Lakeshore Drive. There's a stoplight there on US 52 or Sagamore Parkway. This drain crosses 52 there. If you follow that back to the southeast to the Cook property, what used to be the Great Lakes Chemical Corporation, the current reconstruction project, and I'll talk just a little more about that in a moment, but roughly here at the city boundary, which is the Cook property line, and I don't remember the new owner of the property here to the north, but the incorporated boundary of the city of West Lafayette traverses along the property line of Cook's property. We basically started our reconstruction project at this property line, and it traverses to the south or upstream to the north side of Cumberland Avenue. That is the current reconstruction project of the Cuppy McClure that my office and the Drainage Board has had actively under construction, and we're about 95% complete with that project. With that being said, I feel it's a good time to bring up this process in the drainage code because, as I stated, the code allows it, and we just performed a reconstruction on it, so it's in good shape. Now would be an appropriate time, in my opinion, to relinquish this section. It's roughly, I don't have the exact distance, but it's roughly 1,800 to 2,200 feet. And so I would propose that this board, at this time, after this reconstruction, follow the processes laid out in the Indiana Code 36-9-2720 and relinquish this portion only from Cumberland Avenue to the north boundary of the Cook property of the Cuppy McClure regulated drain over to the city of West Lafayette. With that, and I'll let Mr. Masson jump in here after this, with that comes some pro rata share of maintenance money, I believe. I'll let Mr. Masson talk about, but let me before I turn it over to Mr. Masson, let me take a step back just a moment. The reason why I bring this up is for two reasons. First of all, for whatever reason in this county, this has not been a common practice historically. I don't know why. However, the Indiana Drainage Code, which I've cited twice, clearly lays this process out, and I can tell you I've checked with my counterparts in other counties, and I do know that this takes place in many other counties in the state of Indiana and does so all the time, actually, pretty common in some counties. So it's nothing new. We're not reinventing the wheel. As I said, I'm proposing this to the board for two reasons. Number one, it's in the law and says we can do so. Number two, I think this would go a long way to us as elected officials serving our community, serving the public in which we're intended to be here and serve. Because what I have found in my experience as county surveyor is that anytime we have county regulated drains inside the city limits, either West Lafayette or Lafayette or Dayton or Battle Ground, any of the other ones here in the community, but typically comes up within the city of Lafayette and West Lafayette, the citizenry, our public, it's very confusing to them as to what entity they should call. And if they don't talk to the right people, they end up getting caught in this vicious circle of being passed around from office to office, and I personally don't like that. We're here to serve the public, and I take that very seriously, and I want to do a good job in serving them. And I think if we clean this process up, it will be easier for the public to understand who they need to communicate with. And so those are the two reasons why I'm proposing this to the board. It'll clean things up, and now's a good time to do it. We just, as I mentioned, we just did the reconstruction. I have, just so the board knows, I have been in communication with the West Lafayette City Engineer's Office. Ed Garrison, when he was there, he and I spoke about this. Now Mitch Langford is the city West Lafayette engineer. I have spoken with Mitch briefly. We need to speak some more, but I have planted this seed. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Masson, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I mean, the process is fairly simple. You just need to adopt a resolution, and the city needs to also adopt a similar resolution showing we're all in agreement. I think to prepare it, I'd basically just need a description of the drain with a specification of what we're keeping and what we're giving away, and then that'll help. Then we need probably some kind of report showing what kind of maintenance fund we have balance in there. As I recall, the statute has sort of a default that's a pro rata based on the length of the drain, what you keep and what you're giving away. But there's the potential for modifying it if you determine, for example, that one section of the drain is more expensive to maintain, then you can alter that sort of default setting. So in any case, I think what I'd need is just a description of the drain and some information on the maintenance fund, and then you'd have to get on the same page with the city and make sure that they're willing to accept the drain on those terms.
And Zach, a couple questions. For one, what on the map, what is the white line that runs right through the Cook property from east to west?
I'm using my laser pointer.
Yeah, what
this
is
one? That is an old subsurface county tile that we've shown in that color because it's been vacated. And everything south of Cumberland should be in that same color. That's what I was talking about earlier. We need to update that. I didn't realize that wasn't like that, but we will fix that. But yeah, what that means is that's a vacated branch that's there. Physically it's gone because when Cook built that property and with Great Lakes Chemical rather, physically it's gone, but we still show it as there just because that's what the historical records had.
Okay, my other question is similar. So, and you said everything south of Cumberland should be essentially vacated as well?
Yes, I think that it is. It's just not represented on this map. I will verify that, but I'm pretty sure it is. I certainly know that it is in real life, physically in the field, because it's all been it is non-functioning. That's why the bog exists.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And so it's just that our map didn't get updated. But what I was going to show you is that this probably gets into the category way more than what you want to know, but there's a control structure just for the general public so everybody's on the same page here. There is a control structure on the south side of Cumberland that controls the water level in the bog. I actually had a meeting with Mitch Langford here within the last week, the West Lafayette City Engineer. The city is planning to do another, and I'm not speaking for him, but I do know that they are planning at some point, I don't know when, but they will do a follow-up project to our reconstruction project that I just mentioned. Basically, the county regulated drain project that I just mentioned, north of Cumberland, was phase one of this overall project. Phase two will be to do more work on the celery bog, and that work, in short, will ensure that the water level stays more consistent between pool 1 and pool 2, which there's two different pools. There's a pool here to the south, and then right here, basically just west of the Walmart building. There's a geographical feature there that splits the two different pools. So anyway, that will be a phase 2 project that will be done by the city.
Okay, and then, so will we be considering this on every project that we do within either Lafayette or West Lafayette down the road?
I think we should, yes. I'm not saying we should do it on everyone, but I think this body, as in the Drainage Board, should at least have that conversation and determine whether they should or not. But I can tell you that there are several that we have done recently or will do in the future, or we have on the books to do, that I think would be appropriate to take this action.
And then, Doug, we're not taking any action today. But you will.
Other than to sort of express your approval if you're generally okay with it, and then we can proceed with but I don't even think you need a motion on that. Just-
Okay.
So just for clarity, I'm sorry, just for clarity, my office would, and your office, Doug, would work together
Yeah.
to come up with a resolution and the pro rata share, and then we would get that in a document, bring it back to this board?
Yeah, and you just want to make sure that you have at least a tacit agreement from the city before you pass
Okay.
that, to make sure that there's a good likelihood that they would pass a similar resolution.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Any other questions on that?
Drainage Board.
All right, we'll move on to the bonds.
Very well. My office received a maintenance bond number 1085206 in the amount of $67,661.10 for the Concord Ridge Section 3 project from Atlas Excavation by the Hanover Insurance Company. I'd recommend approval.
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second for the approval of that bond. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That passes.
And then we have the awarding.
The award.
Yep.
Yeah. So those have been reviewed?
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, the lowest bid is still, still B and D, all-terrain. Looks like there's some line item corrections that Jim, if you multiply the lengths times the costs, there's a couple of modifications, and it actually reduces the total quote a little bit to where it's $69,527.35. Looks like it dropped $260 or something like that. So it sounds like you can award the bid on that basis.
All right.
Mr. President, I would move that in regards to the Butler Gosman number 95 train, we award we award the bid for B&B all-terrain in the amount of $69,527.35.
I will second that. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much. All right. Public comment.
Mr. President, we do have
Oh,
one
no,
other
yeah,
item.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a satisfaction of mortgage. The treasurer's office reported that, that the mortgage executed by Catherine Ann Wilcox on the Waples McDill regulated drain has been satisfied, so they've paid that all back. So I suppose a motion to approve the satisfaction of mortgage on the Wilcox property would be in order.
So moved.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes. Okay, anything else?
No, I think that's all I have.
Okay. And I'll again ask for public comment. Do we have anything online? I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned, and we will put up the obstruction hearing here in just a couple minutes. Brenda? Zach, are you all right?
Yes, we're ready to roll.
All right. All right, we will go ahead and call the obstruction hearing back to order. And I'll turn it over to Zach to give us an update.
Very well. So the obstruction hearing we're talking about is the Adams and Gillenback petition of obstruction located at 6330 County Road, East 100 North, east of Wexford Drive, Lafayette, Indiana. So the first hearing took place on September the 2nd of 2020. The second or the continuation hearing occurred again on October the 7th. And so since October the 7th, after that meeting or at the conclusion of that meeting, the board did, table the hearing to today, November meeting, Drainage Board meeting. However, I want to go over what took place between then and now. The board basically at the end of the October 7th meeting asked me to put together an exhibit, which I did and is on the screen before you. Basically, for those that may be listening online or cannot see the exhibit, the first page of the exhibit shows the proposed channel, which is a flat bottom channel, be 5 foot wide, a 5 foot wide flat bottom channel with 5-to-1 side slopes coming up, and that would be for a lineal distance from the invert of the culvert going to the northwest across Mr. Gillenback's property for approximately 60 lineal feet. So that is what Exhibit 1 shows. I would note that this conveyance would return the water to sheet flow after 60 feet, and it would traverse to the northwest across Mr. Gillenback's as it does currently or has historically. The second and third page actually of the exhibit, basically the second page shows the topographic information that my office collected. So if I can zoom in here, we won't spend a lot of time on this, but this shows the proposed surface channel that I just described, and then all the black text that's very small that you can't read is all the surface elevation shots. If we need those, I can zoom in some more, but we'll move on to the next page. The next page shows, zoom out just a little bit, shows the natural flow path. This black line that comes along the culvert and goes, the proposed tile route. So we also looked at a proposed tile route because I think Mr. Gillenback had requested that we do that. So we looked at the surface channel as I described. Also, the third page of this exhibit shows the proposed tile route, as you can see.
So would the natural surface way kind of follow that proposed tile work route as well?
Absolutely. The surface channel ends at 60 feet,
Okay.
but it would sheet flow. It would return to sheet flow and then follow generally where the tile is. Yes, we put the tile in the low area. I was trying to find, thought I had those right. Yeah, here they are right here. I'm sorry. I was looking for my cost estimates. So I followed, myself and Mr. Butcher in my office, Jim drew these exhibits up, and then I sent an email to Mr. Gillenback and the Drainage Board and all involved, the County Highway Department and Mr. Adams. I sent that email on October the 16th, I believe, for the first time. And Mr. Gillenback got back with me and said he wasn't able to get that data. He didn't receive the data. So I sent another email with a Google Drive link for him to obtain that information, and he did confirm with me that he got the information. So with that, the information was disseminated to all involved, and back again to the numbers. I'm not going to read this entire email unless it's requested, but I'm happy to do so. But in the sake of time, if the board would like me to, I will, but I'm going to jump right to the numbers. Basically, see, the surveyor estimates this cost with earthwork, dirt removing the dirt and seeding to be $2,500. So that is the estimate from myself for the surface work. Then cutting right to the chase, 12-inch diameter tile, the tile route at 12 inches diameter, approximately $6,000. So those are my estimates. As I mentioned in my email, I would recommend that we get, if it's decided to move forward with either of these options, I would recommend that we get quotes from contractors that we routinely work with in the community. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's basically what has happened, at least from my office, since the last hearing date of October the 7th.
Zach, I want to be sure I've got this right. So the portion of the project that just addresses the issue and then allows the sheet flow across the property, how much was that?
That was $2,500.
And then the work that involves the tile, there's going to be another $6,000 on top of that $2,500?
No, 6,000 total.
That covers it, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so one would be, and like I said, it may be a little more, a little less, but I'm basing that estimate off of previous work that we do of this type and pulled numbers from other projects. So I think I'm in the ballpark. It could be done for a little less or maybe a little more, but yes, what I'm saying is that the surface project, approximately $2,500, and then the tile project, which would be a project standalone, all of it by itself, would be $6,000. And then I think there was some, I'm not speaking for them, but I see Mr. Spencer's here with the Highway Department. I don't know if the Highway Department has any comments on cost sharing or anything of that nature. I know we discussed that, but I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but. Not at this time. Okay.
And has the respondent, Mr. Gellenbeck, have you, if you want to step forward, I don't know if you've given this some thought?
Yeah, I'm Bill Gellenbeck. I live at 68330 East 100 North, and I did receive all this information. I actually have some stuff going on at home that's a lot more important to me than this, so I really want to get this taken care of. It's just hard to believe that this has been like this for 20 years. I mean, this is how it was installed 20 years ago. Unfortunately, there's pretty much a trust issue on how we're going to do this, because you can tell me you're going to do one thing and do something else. That's why I want something in writing. We had talked to Gary Cheeseman. He actually has done work for you guys before, and the quotes were pretty close to what he said on, because he gave us a quote for both, digging the swell and doing the drainage. So I guess I would be willing to go with the swell. But I guess the big thing is, I mean, how are we going to pay for it? That's going to be the big thing.
Well, and I think we talked about at our last meeting that if you were okay with that, if you were okay with signing the right of entry, that we could take care of it at the county level.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, I would like the dirt. If they would leave the dirt, I could use the dirt. Now, when we had talked to Gary Cheeseman, that was something that was talked about, and I mean, I would really like Gary Cheeseman to do it, because he has seen it, he looked at it, and I do trust Gary. So, but that, I mean, that'd be up to you guys.
Right.
So.
And I'm not sure what this dollar, I think we would have to get a couple quotes for this.
No, I think this is low enough that you wouldn't have to.
Okay.
Well, and I mean, I think, Todd, you got some quotes on that. I looked for mine you gave me. How much was the quotes from Gary?
It was very, very similar.
Yeah, I'm thinking 26 and 58 or something like that was the quotes that he gave us.
And I would defer to Mr. Spencer, but I wouldn't think there would be an issue with retaining, you keeping the dirt for this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I had talked to Gary, he said that was fine. He would leave it for me. So if we would get somebody else, that's something that would have to be relayed, that I would like to keep the dirt.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate that very much. Based on that, what do we need to do at this point? Do we continue this till after the work is complete and then dismiss it?
Yeah, so I would suggest that what you're doing is continuing this petition without date, and then with the idea that you'll dismiss it as moot once the work is done, and then just work on acceptable plans between Mr. Cheeseman and the surveyor's office and a right of entry that everybody's happy with. And I don't know that that necessarily needs to come through here first before you do it. So for today, it would just be continuing the petition without date and authorizing the surveyor to proceed with the construction in a manner acceptable to Mr. Gillenbeck.
I have one question for clarification. Mr. Gillenbeck, you are willing to sign the right of entry?
Well, I am if you tell me who's going to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
if I know who's going to do it and
Sure.
that I get the dirt and I will
Yeah.
sign the entry, yeah.
So I can't speak for everyone else here, but as far as myself and my office, I would be happy if you would accept the dirt because that keeps the cost lower, right? And so part of the $2,500 that I had estimate was to haul the dirt away because I didn't know whether you wanted the dirt or not. So that does help with the cost, so I certainly appreciate that. Secondly, I have no problem with Mr. Cheeseman and his company doing the work. They work for us all the time. He does very good work, and so I'm completely happy with that. And if Mr. Masson's okay with it, that was my answer. The cost is low enough to where if this was on any other job, this would be routine maintenance as far as my office is concerned. I could just order the work done from many of our contractors that we have data on in my office. So as long as the board and the highway department's okay with that, I'm happy to work with you as long as you're willing to sign the right of entry, and I can talk to Mr. Cheeseman, provide him the data that I gave you, and we all move forward if you're okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So, are you ready for a motion?
I am.
Mr. President, I would move that we direct the surveyor to begin working on a plan that would grant right of entry easement for this project, and also have Zach work with Gary Cheeseman to work out the details of scheduling the project, and that this matter be continued without a date.
But the only revision might be that the work will be done through the highway department, not through Zach's office, correct?
That's how you guys.
I mean, right now, the drainage board only has control over the surveyor, really, so.
Okay.
If you direct the surveyor to work with the highway department, then that probably works out.
Okay. Okay. Okay with that?
I'll amend my motion to include Zach working with the highway department.
Okay. And I will second that motion. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that passes. I want to say thank you to the petitioner and the respondent for your patience as we work through this, and hopefully we found a suitable solution for the issue. Thank you very much. All right.
Do you want me to sign something today, or will you send me something? I mean, I've got something, but
Yeah, if you're willing to sign that right of entry today, that would be while you're here, it'd be helpful for me, yeah. And then if you want to, Bill, probably the easiest thing to do is I'll call Mr. Cheeseman and go ahead and see if we can set that up. And then maybe you and I and Mr. Cheeseman and Mr. Spencer or representative from the highway department, we can meet on site, and that way we're all right there together and you can be part of it. And
that would be fine.
is that okay with you?
That's
Okay,
good.
yeah, very well.
Do nothing needed for me.
I don't think so, because we're not going to be on your property unless you have any comments.
No, I'm certainly, this is what I've been looking for, so I am certainly.
We do have one more official business in regard to this obstruction hearing, and that's the approval of the 2 sets of minutes.
Mr. President, I would move for approval of the September 2nd, 2020 and October 7th, 2020 meeting minutes from the Adams-Gellenbach obstruction hearings.
And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that passes. Okay. All right. Now we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned.
And then